Bonjour. Today, exceptionally, this video will be in English because it covers some basic concepts about conjugations, and I really want students, French 1 students and beginning French 2 students, to understand the foundation of pretty much every conjugation and how you form tenses with French verbs. However, the words on the page are in French. These videos are for my students, so I want them to be familiar with the terminology, and I will explain a few words that they will hear and already hear over and over in class. So the first important concept is l'infinitif, which in English is the infinitive. It's the same word. When we use that word, we refer to the non-conjugated form of the verb. So in English, an infinitive would be to sing, to finish, to wait, and the infinitive is marked by this little word before the verb to. In French, you would hear chanter, finir, attendre, and the infinitive of the verb is marked by its ending, er, ir, re. Okay, and we have three different types of verbs, of regular verbs in French. We have what we call les verbes en er, les verbes du premier groupe, so verbs that end with er, comme chanter, to sing, aimer, to love. Les verbes en ir, les verbes du deuxième groupe, so ir verbs like finir, to finish, choisir, to choose. Les verbes en re, re verbs, les verbes du troisième groupe, comme vendre, to sell, attendre, to wait. Okay, so basically this, and this are the equivalent for the French of your to something. And of course, we have tons of irregular verbs that we will be studying diligently in class. So a first very important concept to understand is one of the differences between English and French. In English, often, not always, but to mark a different tense, you use a word before the verb. So for example, to mark the future, you will say, I will finish, and will indicates that you're speaking in the future. For the conditional, you say, I would finish. So very often you have two components, deux éléments, to conjugate a verb. In French, you have just one most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. Why? Because the French verb is your main guy, your main attraction, and as opposed to putting something before, you actually plug something to the verb at the end, which tells you what tense you're talking about. So for example, here are three different tenses of the verb finir. Here you have I will finish, je finirai, that's the future. This tells me this is the future. Je finis is the present tense, I finish, and this tells me I'm speaking in the present tense. Je finissais is I finished or I was finishing, and this tells me that I'm talking in the past or one of the tenses of the past. So in a way, think of your French verb as an ice cream cone. You have a stem, which would be your cone, and then you have your ice cream scoop, which is your ending, and it comes in different flavors, futur, présent, imparfait, different tenses. Now, your cone, as you can see, is slightly different. It's a cone, but just like you have waffle cones, sugar cones, etc., it changes slightly. So your stem, and we'll talk about this in a second, can vary a little bit, and then you have an ending, but it's still a cone. So that's how the French verb works. And the ending is called les terminaisons in French. So when we speak of conjugaison, and notice that it's almost like the English, but not quite, so learn that word well, conjugaison, pas conjugation. Conjugaison, you use often these two terms. La racine du verbe, which is the stem of the verb, et les terminaisons, which are the endings. So for example, here's the verb I sing, present tense, je chante. So this constitutes my cone, my stem, la racine, And this is my ice cream scoop, the ending, la terminaison. And my ice cream scoop, my terminaison, tells me two things. First of all, it tells me that I'm talking in the je form. It indicates which subject I use. And then it also usually gives me a clue about the tense that I'm using here, present tense. Okay? And again, un temps means a tense in French. So, les terminaisons et la racine. So when you conjugate a verb in French and you have those endings, think of them as matching outfits. So if you look at this pretty dress, and let's say you have choice of two different types of shoes, all right? I don't think these working shoes would make an excellent choice with that particular dress. I don't think it would look very pretty, would it? But these would look nice, right? So you see those black pumps look really nice with that dress. So a verb works the same way. Let's say that you chose the working shoes, which would be that ending. Well, this would be wrong. It would not work because this type of ending is actually the ending for the nous form, for the we form, okay? So that wouldn't work and wouldn't match. But if I choose the black pumps, and here for the French verb it's e, that works very well, and that's what I want to see with that subject in the present tense. So when we talk about things like that, I use the words accorder le verbe et le sujet. It's a verb-subject agreement, okay? So things, your outfits must match. So you know that we have 6 endings, 6 terminaisons, according to the 6 different subjects. So here how we are going to match our outfits. So in the present tense for ER verbs, these are the endings we want to see. So if you have je, you absolutely want to see an e. Tu, you want to see es. Il, elle ou on, you want to see e. Nous, you want to see ons. Vous, you want to see easy. Il ou elle, you want to see ent, which by the way is not pronounced en, but simply e. Okay? So here are some stems of different verbs, and we are going to make the outfits match. So j'aime, I love. I'm going to choose E because I know these are the pair of shoes that I wear with that type of dress, right? So E goes with je. Tu, I know that I need to choose ES. So tu danses, you dance. So that must look like that. Il porte, he wears something. I know that's an E for this one, okay? Nous, I know that I need to have ONS. So we arrive, nous arrivons. Vous, I know I need to have easy. So I put easy, vous tombez, you fall. And then ENT for elle, plural, elle rentre. And then everything matches. So here's the formula to do ER verbs in French. So you take the infinitive for the stem, okay? You remove ER, on enlève, which is an expression I use often, which means you remove, okay? So you remove ER, and then you add these endings, E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, ENT, all right? So let's take the verb chanter. So I remove ER, this, sorry, am I being true? So I'm remove ER, and now I have my stem. Notice the stem is the same for all 6 subjects, all right? And then I add my appropriate endings, I make them match. Je chante, tu chantes, il chante, nous chantons, vous chantez, elle chante. So pronunciation, chante, not chantant, all right? So when you pronounce it, you want to forget about the ENT. You write it ENT, you pronounce it elle chante, all right? Thank you. Don't make that mistakes that so many students make. Then for IR verbs, well, the formula is the same at the beginning, which means that I use the infinitive of the verb, I remove ER, but then the endings, les terminaisons, they change. So I add ES, ES, IT, ISSONS, ISSEZ, ISSENT. Okay? So finir, I would remove ER. So I would have my stem, the same for all 6 subjects. And then I have je finis, tu finis, elle finit, nous finissons, vous finissez, il ou elle finissent. And again, pronunciation, you write it with ENT, but you pronounce it like this. Il ou elle finissent. Okay? And finally, les verbes du 3e groupe, RE, my RE verbs, same formula. You take the infinitive of the verb. Here you remove RE, okay, and you add SS, nothing, ONS, EZ, ENT. So for vendre, to sell, I would remove the RE. I would have my stem, the same for all 6 subjects, and I would have je vends, tu vends, il ou elle vend, nous vendons, vous vendez, il ou elle vendent, and again, pronunciation, I would do vende, not vendant, but vende. Okay? I hope that was helpful. Thank you. À bientôt.